On the surface, the upcoming clash between Islam Makhachev and Jack Della Maddalena appears to be a classic striker versus grappler matchup, a narrative as old as mixed martial arts itself. However, to reduce this encounter to such a simplistic dichotomy is to do a grave disservice to the two masters of combat who will enter the octagon. This is not merely a clash of styles, it is a collision of two distinct and overwhelming forces of nature, two competing forms of brutal inevitability. To call Jack Della Maddalena a striker is like calling a hurricane windy. The Australian phenom is a kinetic storm, a relentless forward-marching force that systematically dismantles his opponents. His primary weapon is not a single knockout blow, though he possesses that power in spades, but rather a suffocating and intelligent pressure. Della Maddalena is a master of spatial control, expertly tutting off the cage and turning a 30-foot octagon into a claustrophobic phone booth. His offensive genius lies in the art of accumulating damage. Every punch is an investment, a withdrawal from his opponent's durability. A thudding hook to the liver is not just a point scored, but a deposit made toward a future of diminished cardio and lowered hands. His combinations are a brutal poetry in motion. A jab to the head sets up a crushing cross to the solar plexus. He's constantly gathering data, processing his opponent's reactions, and adjusting his onslaught in real time. This forces his adversaries into a state of pure survival, stripping away their game plans and leaving them to rely on primal and often flawed instincts. The entire architecture of his offense is designed to create a kill box against the fence, a space where his opponent's escape routes are sealed, and the full terrifying orchestra of his boxing can be unleashed. However, this hyper-aggressive style, this unwavering commitment to forward momentum, also contains the seeds of its own demise. The moment his forward pressure is neutralized, the moment he is forced onto his back foot, his primary weapons are holstered. A retreating Della Maddalena becomes a vulnerable target. His defensive liability is exposed. In the other corner stands Islam Makhachev, a fighter who embodies a different kind of inevitability. He is not the storm, but the unseen current beneath the waves, pulling everything inexorably toward a predetermined and inescapable conclusion. While his striking has shown significant improvement, its primary purpose is far more sinister than simply winning exchanges on the feet. It is a tool of manipulation and data collection. Every leg kick is a probe, every jab is a rangefinder, every feint a question posed to his opponent's nervous system. He is not trying to knock you out with his striking, he is herding you toward the event horizon. This event horizon is the grappling range, a dimension where the conventional laws of combat cease to apply and Makhachev's suffocating reality takes over. The psychological toll of facing him begins long before the first takedown attempt. The constant, low-level threat of being dragged to the canvas is mentally exhausting, forcing opponents into a state of tentativeness and hesitation. He capitalizes on this, closing the distance behind his calculated strikes until he can initiate the clinch. Once Makhachev has his hands on his opponent, the bout enters a terrifying new phase. It is not a chaotic scramble, but a systematic deconstruction. Like an anaconda, he methodically tightens his coils, beginning with wrist control to nullify the first line of defense. Crushing shoulder pressure follows, draining the air from the lungs and the hope from the heart. His legs, like vines, trap and immobilize, preventing any attempt to escape. He seamlessly chains together submissions and ground and pound, making elite fighters look like novices. However, even this seemingly flawless system has a vulnerability. The critical moment of danger for Makhachev is in the entry, a telegraph takedown attempt, a moment of lazy head position, an entry without a proper setup. These are the instances where he is most human.
Against a sniper like Della Maddalena, a flawed entry is not just a failed takedown, it is a potential fight-ending collision. This entire contest, then, hinges on the nature of the clinch. This is where the kinetic energy of Della Maddalena will meet the gravitational pull of Makhachev. It will be a series of micro-battles fought at blistering speed. Can Della Maddalena create frames with his forearms to prevent Makhachev from getting to his chest? Can he use his powerful hips to remain upright and punish Makhachev with short, brutal uppercuts and hooks in the dirty boxing range? Its path to victory in these exchanges lies in explosive, short-burst offense. He must inflict damage and separate, resetting at a distance before Makhachev can establish his suffocating grip. For Makhachev, the objective is the opposite. He must weather the initial violent storm of the clinch entry, absorb the short-range punches, secure a body lock, and begin the process of chaining his takedowns. Will he opt for a trip from the body lock or transition to a single leg? Can he drag the fight to a position where Della Maddalena's power is nullified and his systematic control can begin to take hold? These precious seconds, where they are locked chest to chest, battling for underhooks and head position, represent the entire fight in microcosm. It is a battle of explosive power versus systematic strength. Ultimately, we are left with two competing realities. Della Maddalena's reality is a high-paced, high-volume storm where he must force a critical error from Makhachev early, landing a devastating blow that either ends the fight or irrevocably alters its course. He must be perfect while navigating a minefield. Makhachev's reality is one of patience and certainty, where he must weather the early tempest, collect his data, and wait for the single positional mistake from Della Maddalena that he knows, with the conviction of a grandmaster, will eventually come. While the allure of a spectacular knockout is ever present, the cold calculus of mixed martial arts favors the fighter with more paths to victory and a system designed to mitigate risk. The most probable outcome is that the gravitational pull will prove too strong for the storm. The prediction is a victory for Islam Makhachev, likely by submission or ground-and-pound TKO in the championship rounds. He will absorb the early punishment, systematically break down Della Maddalena's will and body, and once he drags him past the event horizon, he will impose his reality in a brutal, suffocating, and ultimately decisive fashion.